Hello, my name is Ning Wu, a PhD student from Dr. Ning Wu's group. I'm recording this video to introduce the poster of our research group for the grad student recruiting event. As we can see from this page, our lab is called Soft Material and Active Colloid Laboratory. Our research group's website is also in this slide. If you have any question, you can contact our group or our professor by emails, and you can find the email information from this website. So let me start from the background of the research group, and then we'll introduce some current project we are already researching right now. So it can give you a brief idea that what we are working on. So as you can see from this four picture, these four pictures are the covers, our cover picture our group published on different journal before. So colloidal particles are existing in our daily life everywhere. So it's very important to us. However, after being researched for almost 100 years, an anisotropic particle is attracting more attention from the scientists because they can introduce more than one function compared to symmetric particle. And also, scientists can introduce in and out of equilibrium behavior of the particle. Imagine we can induce the particle's motion by external field, and then this motion can drive the particle to assemble. After assembly, the simple structure the colloidal particle can form a lot of small structure, and this small structure can introduce new function to the material science. That's why we need to research. That's why the colloidal research is so important to us. Technically, the behavior of a colloidal particle can be predicted by a computer simulation. So that in our groups, both simulation and experimental method were used. So the first project introducing is called colloidal dimer under combined electric and magnetic field, which is where I'm working right now. So our group already found out that dimer-shaped polystyrene particle can have propulsion motions under EHD flow. We introduced the iron oxide nanoparticle coating on the surface so that the particle can have magnetic response. As you can see from the second picture, when we apply the second video, when we apply the rotating magnetic field, particle can rotate following the magnetic field, rotating magnetic field. If we apply both electric field and magnetic field, we can align the particle with the orientation we want, so that particle can move with the direction we want it to move. So that the particle can run as the path we decide for it, as I shown in the video on the right-hand side. Similarly, if you apply rotating magnetic field and electric field, the particle can keep running as a circle, as I show in here. By controlling the strength ratio between the electric field and magnetic field, we can control the rotating circle's radius. So similarly, if we can use the electric field to drive the particle to assemble, which can also be approved by our groups previously. So the polystyrene particle can form a chiral structure as we show in here. This is a left-hand structure, this is a right-hand structure. If we do the similar experiment with a magnetic responsive particle, we can imagine that we can apply the rotating magnetic field and force the structure to rotate or switch chirality, as I shown here. When we apply clockwise rotating field, the right-hand structure will keep rotating with clockwise, and the left-hand structure will change to right-hand structure and then rotating clockwise. When we apply counterclockwise rotating field, the right-hand structure will transform to left-hand structure and rotating counterclockwise, and the left-hand structure will keep its left-hand structure and rotates counterclockwise. The second project introduces being researched by another grad student, Yan Gao. His research is applying a magnetic amphiphilic particle as a pickling emulsion surfactant. As we know, pickling emulsion, it is an emulsion that can stabilize by a solid particle. So here, in his experiment, he modified magnetic particle to be amphiphilic, which means one side is one side is one side is preferred to attach the water, and the other side prefer to contact the oil. So that he used this particle to as a stabilizer for the oil droplet inside the water phase. And then he applied the magnetic field. He can control this surfactant to locate on different position of the droplet or on the oil droplet. Also, by applying different magnetic field, he can control the oil droplet to move to a different direction, as we shows here. And then the third project introducing is called folding and propulsion of helix magnetic chain. One of the very meaningful application for colloidal research is that people are trying to mimic the microorganisms' motions because the small particle has difficulty to move in a low Reynolds number environment. So that if you design the chain structure, which is like the microorganisms or flagellus or the sperm cells, we can control this. We can utilize the motion of this kind of structure and make it potential for microrobot design and transport, and also release of cargo. So here is some of the results our group researched before. On the left-hand side, you can see that we can make 3 different folding modes of the chain structure under external magnetic field. You can see the first one by applying DC magnetic fields, and the magnetic chain structure can form a straight line or U shape or the S shape. By applying XY implants undulatory fields, we can also form the same straight line structure, the U-shaped structure and the S-shaped structure. If we apply the 3D pressing fields, we can form the helical structure, plateauminate structure, and colloidal structure. An arrow here in this picture representing the propulsion motion of this structure. So from this picture, we see that the potential of folding and changing the structure of the magnetic chain. So that in order to make the microorganisms, our group also successfully utilized the magnetic chain to have 4 different propulsion modes and a different combination of external magnetic field. When we apply 3D processing fields, we can let the chain structure. We can make the anisotropic magnetic chain structure to have a federalized rotating moving mode, as we show in this 2 figure. And then when we apply XY undulatory fields, we can make the magnetic chain to have tail whippings moving mode. And when we apply the XZ undulatory fields, we can let the magnetic chains have arching and stretching moving mode. And then at the end, when we apply the 3D undulatory fields, we can make the anisotropic chain have a side winding and moving mode. So you can see that it is very potential for scientists to introduce the external fields, which is mainly a magnetic field, to make the chain structure to have different motion and different motion mode. And in the future, hopefully it will be potential to apply into target therapy and carrier and drug delivery. Similarly, when we also research the magnetic change behaviors under the combined electromagnetic field, which is under research by our master student Ashraf. So as we can see here, we apply both electric field and magnetic field to the magnetic sphere particle. So they will form a chain or the view structure depending on the aspect ratio of the electric field and magnetic field. And under this under the chain structure, when we if we slightly change the ratio of strength between the electric field and magnetic field, we can make the warm structure to have a slightly have a small angles so that it can propel like a worm. Also, when we apply z direction magnetic field, we can also tilt it to change, which is not only laying down on the parallel surface on our view. So by doing this research, we can on this research we can see that the electric field can introduce dipole repulsion between the particle, and that the magnetic fields can introduce an isotropic attraction between the spherical magnetic particle. So by changing the ratio between the attraction force and the repulsion force, we have potential to tune the sphere particle into different structure, and we can control the motion. Except for apart from colloidal particle research, we also focus on some detailed application of colloidal particle research. One of the project is already be researching by another PhD student, Yuan Xinzhang. It is to use to functionalize nanoparticle as a gas hydrate anti-agglomerate. As we know, gas hydrate is the molecule cage of water trapping some other organic molecules under the cold, low temperature and high pressure. In petroleum engineering, when the engineer trying to transform the petroleums and all the gas from the oceans to the land, they always met the problem that agglomeration will happen in the flow line, which will cause the damage to the pipelines. Nowadays, the most common method to prevent this problem is to put in more other organic solutions so that can prevent the agglomeration. However, this is not not environmental friendly and it will be expensive. So our group is researching how to apply some functionalized magnetic nanoparticle as an anti-agglomerate so that we can put the particle in it and then they can prevent the hydrate formation. Later on, we can also correct this nanoparticle back, which will lower the economy cost and also bring a more environmental friendly technology for the petroleum engineering. On the left picture, our group already researched that under different for different amount of functionalized surface, we can control the gas hydrate formation, and so that. And also, the pipeline solution can have different viscosity when we reduce the formation of the hydrate. When we reduce the hydrate formation, so that in this case, it shows that it is totally possible that in the future we can use functionalized nanoparticle as anti-agglomerate, so that it will lower the cost of petroleum engineering. This will potentially it will lower the cost of the gas in the future. And the last project I'm going to introduce is a computational simulation project. In this project, our PhD student Joe will apply Monte Carlo simulations apply Monte Carlo simulations to simulate what kind of structure will form for the spherical particle under applied electric field. So mainly, this simulation is based on the Lennard-Jones interaction and also the dipole interaction between particles. In his simulations, he controlled the particle concentration, the field strength, and also the distance, the confinement distance between the substrate. He already found that spherical particle can form a different structure, as we saw in the left picture. And this structure, they all have been approved by our experimental results, which means the simulation in our group is highly consistent with our experimental results. On the right-hand side, he also found that under different confinement of between the substrate, colloidal particle can form a caustic crystal, which is not commonly seen in in natural life. Hopefully, we are trying to we're trying to use the simulation result to find out a suitable experimental condition so that we can form caustic crystal experimentally. And this hasn't been done by too many researchers before. Hopefully, we can find a conventional way to form the caustic crystal structure in the labs instead of just a simulation result in the future. And that is all the project I'm going to introduce to you. And if you're interested in our group, you can contact the students or the professor by emails. And the email address can be found in the websites as I show in the first page. Thank you for interest to Colorado School of Mines, and also thank you for interest to Chemical Engineering Department. And that's all of my presenting. Thank you.